Yeah, some person, right?
So we're getting upside down. Okay.
David,
Hey, good evening.
Hi there.
welcome.
Good evening from Tampa.
Good evening. Oh, easy. That's okay.
Yeah, it's at the gym.
He's gonna suggest with changes.
So we have to do all that, changes in the when you.
Yeah.
Which
One of us. Where you got.
Yep. No.
Time.
The travel back.
Hey guys, we're ready. Hi, everybody. Good evening to all of you that are watching online, and to those of you who will be watching later on. Good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching. How you doing? So this is the December 14th, 2022 Board of Directors meeting for the Celebration Residential Homes Association. I'm your host, Cindy Swisher. I have all my holiday finery on today because we are in December. This is our last meeting for the year. So it's 6 o'clock. We're going to get started. Lauren, can we verify that the meeting has been properly noticed? It was properly noticed. And we do have a quorum. We have four of us here, then we have Mr. Anderson online. So we do have a quorum. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll be calling the meeting to order at 6. 1, 2, 3, 6:03. We have a few people in the audience today. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment? The chair recognizes the Scipio.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, board. My name is Kathleen Scipio. I live at 1113 Mosaic Drive, and I'm here tonight just to spread a lot of wonderful news about a little event that happened the first weekend in December. The Celebration Foundation hosted the Holiday Home Tour and Winter Wonderland event, and we could not have done it without Town Hall. The use of the Town Hall facility that was transformed into a Winter Wonderland that opened to over 200 guests on Friday night for our VIP sold out reception. That was transformed with a lot of volunteer elves and under the leadership of Debbie and Dory. But of course, we would not have been able to do it without our partnership with Town Hall and CROA. Liz has been nothing short of fabulous, getting the best pictures in the celebration news for us. Nikki making sure we have a tent at the farmer's market so we could sell tickets. So these are the results that are in. We had over 250 volunteers of all ages. Our holiday home tour had almost 1,400 tour participants over a 2-day period. And we had homeowners, liaisons, volunteers, the town hall team, Artisan Clubhouse, our liaisons, and we raised enough revenue for our programs, and we changed history because the most we had ever raised before in 2019 was $62,000. And this year, in 2022, we raised $95,006. hands, lots of hearts were involved. Cindy's home was on the tour.
And what's my percentage gonna be?
That is where you get that free T-shirt that says hashtag joy of giving.
Okay.
And Celia was one of our homeowner liaisons. Lauren attended our VIP event, but I know you've heard me say this hundreds of times. I'm going to keep on saying it. This is community, but many tour participants that came through, out of all of them that came through, one of them said it the best, and they said, "You are so lucky to live here." So happy holidays and thank you very much.
Before you sit down, I don't know that you mentioned that you were the executive director for the foundation. Could you just give, in case there's anybody new, just a real quick, the kind of things these proceeds will go to?
Absolutely. They go to our programs. We have 8 programs. We have a Thriving in Place program for the seniors in our community. We have a Learning Without Hunger program. We adopt 17 schools in Osceola County and provide weekend meal packs for the children that receive the free breakfast and lunch. We have a Celebration Lifelong Learning program. We have scholarships, concert series. We pretty much do it all, but what we do best is when somebody calls our office and needs help, we try to connect, care, and change the community landscape, and this is how we do it together.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
And our community grants program. So this got revitalized during the pandemic. We knew a lot of our area organizations couldn't fundraise during the pandemic, like the Boy Scouts, a football team, the basketball team, cheerleading team. West Side needed some tumbling mats. So really, you just fill out a grant application. The next grant application is due January 15th. And you just fill out what your need is and come and speak in front of the board. We did a huge library project for Celebration K-8. When the pandemic happened, a lot of kids had library books out at Celebration K-8 and they didn't come back. So they had to restock the shelves. And we matched the community for $10,000 for a total of $20,000 donation.
Thank you so much. And you're welcome.
And
Thank you.
a special little Imagineer that's in the audience. That was happening.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was just saying.
Yeah, everybody.
You had seen Lane Andrea online, had her hand up originally, but it's down. Lane, do you want to speak?
I just wanted to say hello and let everybody know I'm here to participate in the review or the discussion on the window approval when we get there. So thank you. I'm in Salt Lake City in a snowstorm today, so I could not make it in person.
Anybody else in the audience want to say something? No. Debbie Jackson, just talking about.
I've already done it.
Put me or hat on.
Okay.
Debbie Jackson, 413 Sycamore Street, but I'm actually on special events. First of all, I want to applaud everybody last night. Unbelievable, great team. Turned out great. Little raindrops here and there, but you know, it's nice to see everybody. It's happening. What I was really
If you go back, you can hear it there. You can
here,
hear it on the computer from our phone.
You can hear it on the computer from here.
Person
I
on
can
the
hear, I did click on this, that link from the, I can hear it from, on the computer.
What
I can, if I click on the link.
I talk pretty loud. I can do it. But anyway, what I'm here for tonight is to put a little bug in your ear. I have noticed and repeatedly, I have brought this up with special events. I am the chair of the special events committee. That all of our items for every event, chairs, tables, whatever, are scattered throughout this town. We don't even have a good inventory. It's not fair for me to come and say, we need more money for this, that, or whatever, when we don't know what we have. And it's hard because Grand Manners has just taken over. So it's a lot. It's a lot. When you think of the different storage places inside Town Hall, there's probably stuff here, there's stuff over at Lakeside, there's stuff at the fields. What I am proposing is that little piece of land that you can't figure out what you want to do with, that little lot B over there. All we need is electric and a storage shed. But try to build something that everything is in one space. So if I call Nikki and say, Nikki, I need 150 chairs, Nikki doesn't have to go to like 5 different spots to find it. It would help with that. It's going to help on as far as like how many staff members are running all over town to get something. But kind of put that, if you're thinking about what can go on that lot that nobody wants, that would be an ideal spot, especially if we get more inventory. So kind of put it in there. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. Anybody else? All right. Right. The ceiling thinks there's somebody who's trying to get into the meeting.
Mr. Moore's trying to.
He's, I believe he's the one on the phone that was muted, so he needs to just unmute himself now. So.
I'm waiting for the person to. Well,
I guess we could continue.
yeah, let's continue. And then down to hang tight. And we'll be with them as soon as they get there. Okay. Next on the agenda is adopting the agenda. Does anybody, do I have a motion?
I'd like 3 things pulled from the agenda.
I think we have to adopt it. We have to make a motion to adopt it and then you make a change.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Julie?
I would like A8, A9, and A11.
8, 9, and 11. We will be, and all that means is that they're moving to the section where we will actually be discussing these action items and not just like.
Here's nothing.
Any other changes?
Tell him to.
This is David. I'd like to remove item 17 from the landscape agenda so we can talk about it. And then also items 2 to 15. This is separate from what Celia just said. Items 2 to 15, I want to make it clear, with the exception of items 4 and 15, that those are monthly charges, because it's the way it's listed, it would be a one-time payment, and those are actually monthly payments over a year. So I would like that as we get into those to make sure that that's crystal clear that those are monthly payments for all those landscape items 2 to 15, with the exception of 4 to 15 that currently say monthly. The others do not say monthly, so it's implied that it's for the year. And then also with the agenda for maintenance items 14 to 19, I'd like to pull those so we can talk about those separately rather than a consent agenda.
Okay. Oh,
The avenue needs one correction to the initial
okay.
fund amount.
If nobody else feels need to pull anything, like we can recap that right now, that's okay. So we're pulling A8, 9, and 11. We're pulling number A17. We're pulling section B 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. We got that?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and we can discuss those as a group and then have a new, what do you call it, consent agenda on those once there's clarification on the documentation of those.
Okay, sounds like a plan. And then there's another correction, I believe, that we need to make. Jim, did you want to?
Yeah, on A7, that's been rebid at a lower cost, and so the new monthly amount of that is $1,487. It's down from $2,032.25.
Okay, and that's a per month. Okay, anything else? That being said, we need another motion, so do I have a motion to approve the new agenda as amended? I'll make the motion. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I had asked management to give us a turnaround on the minutes within, by the close of business, the Friday following our meeting. With everybody being so busy, that's delayed much more than that, and it makes it difficult for the secretary and all of us to remember exactly what happened at the meeting. So they have agreed that they will get it on their calendar so we can have a quicker turnaround for that with the secretary and other board members. So any other comments about minutes?
So the minutes will go to the complete.
Is that what you would like?
Yes.
Okay. Ladies, is that good with you? Okay. So at the close of business on Friday following the meetings, we should all expect a draft of the minutes to look at and tweak if need be. Nothing else? Do I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion passes. We don't have financials this month. Mr. Treasurer, is there anything you'd like to share?
No, the treasury, will come out on the 20th, so we will have the new ones as far as finances go with that. Just with the help and planning of Jim Hyman and Andrew Benanati. We've had meetings with Amy and Lauren, kind of trying to find a way to invest a certain amount of our reserves. Went to Bank of America, they didn't seem to want to do business with an HOA because it didn't fit their model. Amy's doing some research on others, so we're based on some comments back from Jim Hyman today. There's some more research on us. We've got news since early afternoon.
Thinking just that it sounds like regions might be able to help us out as far as investing in treasuries. We've talked to multiple banks that specialize in HOA funds. Their recommendations are CDs rather than treasuries. But the finance committee does feel strongly about the U.S. treasuries, so we are going down that route. I called Chris from Regions yesterday, and I have a call to him just so that we can do a conference call with the finance committee.
Thank you.
By the way, I have no idea it's so hard to get rid of $3 million.
Well, we could up our salaries. Okay, moving on. President's update. I have more to put this back on the agenda this month because I wanted to talk a little bit about the executive session that we had last Monday. This last 6 months or so has been very, let's say, I'll use the word turbulent for the board, for management, for the residents. We received several emails from some of our residents saying that we were not putting our best foot forward, and that's putting it very, very politely, which we recognized, but we didn't know what to do about it. So Graham Manners came through for us, and that executive session last week was kind of a work session where we learned some things about each other. We discussed, we thought the problems were, how we could fix it. So, and then we had a meeting afterwards, and unfortunately, part of the late one came, some of you may have already seen it online. But I just wanted to let you know that we thank all of you who brought this really to the forefront for us. Because like I said, I was at loss, as where I'm sure all of us were how to fix it, but I think we know how to fix it now. And I think going forward, starting today and hopefully in the next year, you will see a new and improved board. We just, what's the slogan I wanted to say? All for one for one, one for all. Yeah, just like the Three Musketeers, only there's 5 of us currently. But we are looking forward to working together as a team, not being so, I don't even know what word I want to say. But you, Penny? That's okay. You can fill in the blank, those of you who have been watching and listening to these meetings the last several months. So, as I said, thank all of you for bringing this to the forefront. And like I said, we look forward to serving you in a more professional manner and doing whatever it takes to keep things going onward and upward, as Jim said. So that's all I wanted to say about that. So, having said my piece, we shall move into the action items. Okay, consent agenda now for landscaping. So we are going to be talking about number 1. You want to bring the 2 consent? Yeah, I think that's really good. Is that
Can we discuss one more? Will we?
Let's
no, it's not cool.
I see the ball, which I'm still seeing.
So
So motion.
motion to approve the ones that we are not cool, which would be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7 as amended, number 10, number 12, number 13, number 14, number 15, and number 16. I have a motion.
So moved.
I'll say, oh, Jim, bring it to Bill. All righty, all in favor?
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Just to be very clear, all those numbers that you cited, items 4 and 5 cite, or 4 and 15 cite monthly. All the others, we need to make very, very clear that those are amended motions to show that those are monthly fees, not yearly fees. But we're approving it for the contract.
Correct. Thanks again, Dave. Okay.
Yeah, and just one other comment. What I like in this is we see multiple landscape companies getting the bids, which gives us an opportunity to look at the capabilities of different landscape companies. If one doesn't do well or another one doesn't do well, we're learning about others that have not been companies that we have hired before. Is that correct? That we have not. Yeah, and so we're getting lots of capabilities built in here, so that's nice to see, and I applaud that. So we're not relying on 1 or 2 as a master contract, as was done for many years. So that's nice to see. So thank you for that.
So, everybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Now, do we want to discuss the ones that were pulled from this group? That would be number 8.
Number 8, number 9, number 11, Rachel.
Educators.
Okay. Number 8, these are from the service areas. And service area number 8 has 6 units, number 9 has 6 units, number 11 has 3 units. Am I correct now?
That is correct.
So that's a total of 15 units. We terminated at the direction of management Benchmark.
We didn't renew their contract.
We didn't renew their contract. Okay, here's one that was.
Didn't renew
Yellowstone.
their contract.
Yellowstone terminated, excuse me, I'm sorry for this misstating that, but they're not renewing their contract because of issues, ongoing issues. And we put an RFP out with the service areas, correct, Natalie? That is correct.
And
And
had 25 what's in different companies.
okay, so, since we're not renewing their contract, I don't know why we're awarding them, if anything. And I think this needs to go back.
So what do you suggest? So the biggest picture here with these 3 is Benchmark was the company that came in closest to the 2023 budget. The other issue with these 3
service areas is they are dangerously close to that 20% increase cap, mainly because of their reserve fund contributions, because that's the largest, that and the landscaping budget is the largest portion of their budget. So every company that came in, the bid came in drastically over their budget. Benchmark was just the one that was closest to the budget. So if you want to reject these bids, then we can go out and rebid all three of these as one collective and see if we can get additional responses or anything.
So Oakon Townhomes, for example, we already increased their budget for 2023 at 15%. So that's very, very close margin. And then also Golden Asper, we did a 6% increase, but since it's very small, we did the difference, it would go over the 20%. And then East Village duplexes was already increased by 14%. So there's really no wiggle room for us to not have to be within budget.
Well, we do that, the three of them together, and I can't.
So then you would motion to reject the bids and or not approve the bids, and then we would go back out and rebid. In the meantime, the existing landscaping companies, I believe Benchmark right now, they continue to service the area until a new bid.
Right, because there's 16 things here on this agenda that we're approving, and we wouldn't have to be approving any of this if they just do what they were supposed to do in service.
The only problem is our contract is expiring 12/31 of 2023. I don't believe they will continue to maintain those areas. 2022, sorry. So we need to have somebody else step in and service so we could have Exquisite or I could ask Prince and Sons or somebody like that to step in.
Yeah, I agree with Celia that beautiful.
Yeah. So Celia, you're making a motion that we reject the bids on these three properties for East Village, on Golden Aster. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Thanks,
And those, thank you,
Yes.
you know, a lot of.
Ask them to sharpen their pencils. Okay, number 17, David, I believe you pulled that one.
Yes, I have multiple questions on this. First of all, we're seeing that this is all about the Island Village townhomes. And it's listed at $18.32 per month, total annual cost of $21,990. When you see the three documents that are appended, it adds up to $11,791. So it's half the amount of what is listed as a bid. So that's inconsistent. Second, the second and third documents are for the same buildings, 5, 21, and 22, and they're very different amounts. One is $10,284 and one is $857 for the same scope of services. So that's confusing to me. So I'm not, and then the larger issue is it's saying, okay, so we're going to take over, CROA is going to take over these buildings. I think some are on the agenda tonight, and this will be a rolling thing. So what is the specific scope of work for which buildings? Because 6 buildings are listed in the 3 documents that are attached. So this is very confusing and it doesn't match. So I am not inclined to support this because it just doesn't make sense. So help me make sense, or we'll just table it until documentation comes forward that makes sense. And then in the agenda, it was a dollar amount that was blank. It had dollar and blank. So that on the printed agenda, not the documentation, the printed agenda that was circulated, it just said no dollars. So it's just not ready to approve.
I would table it.
David, you want to make a
Until I
motion?
can physically research them every single one.
David, is that your motion to table it?
I would motion to table it because I cannot support this.
I second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody? David and Jim, thank you guys. All right, now we're moving over to the second consent agenda, which is maintenance and other things. Someone want to make a motion to approve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
So moved.
Second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody?
Aye. Aye.
All in favor? Okay. 14 through 19. David, to you.
Yes, on those, the issue was the documentation. It was very unclear. I mean, I know that there's 6 sets of dormers, but the documentation for each of the 6 was the same. It had some funding or had a write-up for $1,000, and then another write-up for $4,500. And that's the same for each of the 6 items, regardless of the number of dormers. I didn't see the number of dormers listed in any of the documentation. So it's just, again, it wasn't ready for approval. It just, things didn't match. And if we're spending $55,000, but the documentation adds up to $5,500, that doesn't match.
I'm on to speak to that. So Phoenix Roofing, which is the contractor that came out and did an evaluation of all the roofs after Hurricane Ian. I have the master spreadsheet. I had shared that with Cindy. So basically what that proposal is, originally they wanted us, if there were, let's say there was 6 in a building and 4 or 5 of them had the dormer issues, why don't we just correct and fix them all at once? That would be the correct thing to do so we don't have problems in the future. However, with this expense being so high and us not wanting to go to our insurance company and file claims, et cetera, I chose the ones that need to be replaced in the dormers. Each building has 2 dormers that need to be replaced. So each dormer is bidded at $4,500 each. So if you take, let's say, for example, there's the 4 units that needs the 2 dormers replaced, then each unit would be $4,500 times 2 for the replacement of the dormers, and then to do the stucco work, the paint work, and that to follow would be $1,100 for each dormer. So if you do the math that's in the cover, that's what it is. You know, it's kind of confusing and discussed it moving forward.
I suggested, I hope it's okay with the rest of you, that when we have something like that, where it's the same project with the same vendor, then somehow it's one action item on the agenda, but broken out so we can see. And then we only need, we don't need all these pieces of paper or pages that have the same amount of information. And then also retract on the cover sheet exactly, what's happening.
And then when we get invoiced, it will have the actual unit numbers that were repaired. And then on there, I have the sheet here, which unit numbers, all highlighted. I sent it over to Cindy. This is all the roofing issues that we had pending from Hurricane Ian. So that is why I do know that the service area, the homeowners are getting very impatient as it rains. They are still continuing to leak. They have a ton of interior damage. So this has been for a while.
So I appreciate that. So two follow-on comments. One is this predates your time and Lauren's time, but the reason we put those cover sheets on was to explain all of that in writing so all the residents can see that. So that, whether it's one action item with these 6 subcategories because they have 6 different budgets they're coming from. But it's very clear where the math comes from and your explanation is very clear, but that's all clear to the public ahead and to the board ahead of time. The other question is this is a large amount of money. This is important work. It's a large amount of money in terms of the service area funds. Are there funds to cover that? Like it's
Yes.
55,000 out of one in North Village, 66 out of South Village, 33 out of Blue Sage. Is the money there and the reserves to cover that?
So South Village, Charleston Place, and we don't have Savannah on tonight's agenda. But they are part of the roofing litigation that had occurred. And
Yep.
funds for those roofs. So they do have the fundage. Blue Sage, they do have the funds. They're coming in really, really close, but they do have the funds available to do so.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. That's helpful for me. Thanks.
You're welcome. So with those explanations, do I have a motion to approve items 14 through 19?
So moved.
I'll second that. This is David. Thank you.
And anyone else have any comments or questions, concerns? Bill, you look like.
Well, I have a question. It doesn't really fit here.
Okay.
I think it's a general Phoenix question. And did Phoenix, are they the ones who did the seal down at the flagpole?
Look at that seal every week.
It does not rise to what would be called workmanlike. Yes, yeah, they fixed it. It's not crumbling and it's not pretty. And I mentioned because I noticed that, but I've had comments from 6 or 8 other people. If we can make that part of the discussion, we'll make this work like, how do you guys make it look good?
The seal itself is, you're talking about around the seal.
Around the seal.
Not the seal
It's just-
itself.
It's not nice. It was not nice the last time, and now they put in more stuff. It's not cracked and crumbling, but it's not nice workmanship. It should have been done better.
Are they done? Yes, that's
Looks done.
Yeah.
it's done.
I think we're gonna have to find a company that specializes in something like that. I mean, I remember the bid was like $1,500 to do it. So we're gonna have to find
It's
it.
worth $1,500.
Yeah, it's worth it,
But it's not what we
but
need.
it's not what we need.
It doesn't represent.
Thanks for that. Righty. Now we move on to our section C of action items that we're going to discuss.
Wait.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, first one is the emergency approval of silent insurance proposal to ratify the emergency approval. That was an emergency.
Yeah, because we have
It's a
six time.
But six, yeah. Yeah. Well, soon we forget. Someone want to make a motion to ratify the,
I make a motion to ratify the emergency approval.
second
Okay.
discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask a question. So when they did this, did they, like, I know you said you sent them an updated list of vehicles. Do we have 15 vehicles?
No, we don't.
So are they charging us per vehicle?
No, more per driver.
So.
We have around the same number of drivers.
Okay, so they're not charging us for these 15 vehicles.
This stuff's listed on the policy.
So if I went and renewed my policy and added a car to it, they would charge me extra. I'm trying just to determine this for the residents.
But the way, they have to list those, but the way that it's,
We don't have 15.
yeah, the way that it's quoted, it's not on those. Are you saying
We don't,
some of these are out of service?
Yeah, but we don't own 15 vehicles. You own 6 or 7 heads and 2 trucks. 3 trucks, yeah.
right, so what I'm trying to say is, I know you said you sent them the updated list. But if I call my insurance company tomorrow and say I want to add 2 cars to it, they can bill me for it. Are they billing us for all of these vehicles in this quote for it?
I think she's asking is the quote for that premium going to go down since you don't have those,
Yeah.
that many vehicles? That's what she's asking.
It'll go down.
Well, if it goes down $1,
Yeah, if it goes down, then that'll be.
well, we know it's gonna go.
Yeah.
So we'll get a refund if I repaid it, right?
Well, you haven't paid yet.
We've been billed for that full amount.
So can't they, like, reduce, recalculate the amount?
I can get it out there. We haven't paid anything, we haven't gotten the bill.
But the policy needed to go in first.
Yes.
That's why we did it. Right?
We needed to sign documents.
No, I completely understand. You're saying it's great.
Like, it's been even 3 hours on your policy, you can charge for it.
Absolutely.
Are you doing that, Tim?
Yes, and they have the updated list in the drawer.
Any other comments? Concerns, questions? Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Next one. Motion to approve the new member of the Spring Lake Townhome Service Area Committee. I have a motion. Second.
Second.
Question.
You want to say the name?
Yes, I guess I'm just curious why we're approving that committee members.
Really?
No.
Well, you
Just service.
So they lost a committee member, somebody else wanted to join the committee, so we're asking you to approve their joining.
It's just like the regular community service area.
Like husbands, we have.
We're just making it official.
Yes.
We're not in charge of.
We're accepting their recommendation and making it official.
Well, they had a vote and everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't recommendation.
Okay.
Well,
Vote to vote.
but it's not the vote that's needed, ours is the vote
No.
that's needed.
You know.
And I
But it's good.
was trying to keep it.
Any other discussion?
I think I was.
All in favor? Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Next is the motion to approve the new members of the Spring Lake Garden Home Service Area Committee. I assume it's the same thing, 2 vacancies, 2 applicants. It's,
So moved.
Second.
okay, Jim and then David. Anybody questions, discussion?
No, just a comment just on this and on the prior one. It's nice to see these well-qualified people volunteering to serve in their service area. So thank you to them.
Ditto. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We're still having difficulty. There's at least one person who's trying to get in and can't.
I will email the link to.
We're working on it. Stay tuned. Okay, number 4. Motion to approve the RFP for Lot D project.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, I think David said something. What did he say? So
So moved. Second.
Yeah, I just have a question, maybe it's the language. Under rationale, it says RFP will be open on December 15th. That, to me, that means we're gonna have them in hand, but I don't think that's what it means.
No,
I think
that'll
that
be
means
open for bid.
open for bid, okay. Because the government work open means physically open while sitting around the table.
Oh,
No.
We're opening the bid process.
yeah, and with a due date of July or January 13th. Yeah, 2020.
thank you for that. Any other discussion, comments?
Yeah, a comment. I know that just a month ago, we approved that process and engaging this other company to help with that process. So thank you for moving this forward promptly, expeditiously. This has been, 2 or 3 years in the making, and it'll be exciting to see what comes once the bids go out and actually when the bids actually are opened, per Bill's point. And I think you had a date in there. I'm not recalling it right now, but it was before the January, plenty of time before the January board meeting, as I recall. Is that right, Lauren? Bids are due like January 15th or something like that?
So the SME group and the Kayla group and management will have time to review them. If we have a recommendation for the 25th meeting, we will put that on the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay,
For
okay,
certain, we need to ask follow-up questions, and we still have the February board meeting to get this
Okay.
approved. Keep
good.
moving
So,
forward.
Good. So we have some flexibility in there. That's very good. It's nice to see this moving forward. And it'll be interesting to see what comes.
And I just want to say, I don't like pickleball, but I've noticed a lot more commercials. I think there was a TV or something about pickleball. I mean, it's starting to get a lot of play now, play on words, a lot of play now on your regular TV outlets. So I know it sounded like we were coming right to the game when we started this process, but I think we're right in the sweet spot right now. So David, you're right, this is exciting and
Yeah. And to your point, Cindy, this broadens our portfolio of assets in our community for not just for our current residents, but for prospective residents to say, do you have pickleball? I mean, it broadens it. Let's hoping that the bids come in with good quality and a reasonable price.
no other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimously. Number 5, motion to approve the 2023 contract for Celebration Cyclones as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Committee. I'll make a motion. And a second?
Second.
Any conversation? Okay. Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Number 6, motion to approve the 2023 contract for Vantage Tennis as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Committee. Do I have a motion? No? Anyone? Okay, now this is interesting. Nobody wants to make a motion to at least discuss the.
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. Well, then let's discuss.
I've heard enough negative feedback, both verbally and through emails that the board has, to have some major reservations about this. So I'm going to oppose it without any additional information or input. But I'm going to listen for everyone else about it.
Anyone else?
Do we have any information from the Recreation Committee about other potential bidders on this? Again, to Jim's point about comments and concerns that we've all experienced over the last couple of years. Do we have other bidders?
I believe we did.
Yeah, you had one other bidder, that did not provide the depth of programming that's provided by Advantage Tennis. So Advantage Tennis services adults, children, groups, and private lessons. The other bidder was, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, was just a Saturday youth program. So it would take up the majority of the tennis courts all day on Saturday, but then the tennis courts would be open Sunday through Friday for resident users essentially, but would only be a children's program, no adult program.
So this is multi-generational.
Yes.
Okay.
So were any adjustments? I know that one of this has been, I'm going to say at least 15 years since I've first heard from the tennis people. That was when I was working at town hall. Have any adjustments been made to their schedule to make it easier for residents to just show up and play? I mean, is that part of this RFP? Are they?
That was part of this RFP, and even prior to the RFP, we put further constraints on the Advantage Tennis usage time of the courts. They are restricted to 2 courts at any given time, but for Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And that's when a lot of their kids' after school programs are.
Compared to what? What did they used to have?
Compared to, they had 3 courts for the majority of the day, most days of the week.
Then I'm not understanding what, because there's how many courts? There's 5. Okay.
The problem is a prime time issue, not necessarily a programming issue. It's just you have limited courts and
everybody wants to use it early in the morning and late in the afternoon to avoid the dead heat of the day.
Well, those are the residents that own those boards.
Yes, my concern is not necessarily with how the contract reads,
Well, I just wanted to know.
but the past behavior, and from what I'm hearing, continuing behavior of not keeping to those contractual commitments in terms of where they stay and where they should be.
I heard some of that too. Bill, like,
Well, I've heard what we've looked through, but is this more or less time than they're supposed to be using now?
This is the same time that was restructured, I want to say, midsummer of this year.
So they should be following that.
They should be following
Yeah.
that now.
And I personally have heard these comments recently. Very recent. But I don't know if, I don't know how many of you've heard from other people, but that's my concern. I think it's good to be there. One of the biggest concerns, historically, that we brought up in the last discussion of this is the fiscal commitment that they had was not followed through with, so they continue to make money and use the courts. But, you know, our goal, in my view, for partner programs is to potentially get some of that back to contribute, right? Not to break even. It's an amenity for the residents. And I think they've gone beyond that historically, and it seems like still are going beyond where the guardrails we put on to try to make sure the residents can use this.
so basically what you're saying is that the wear and tear that this causes on the facility, along with the reduced availability to the residents, maybe this is a program that we do not want to continue? Is that what you're saying?
Perhaps that would be one of our options. You know, I would say if it hadn't happened before that we would kind of reprimand them and make sure, but then we're going to have to also monitor them. I just don't, know how much overhead we're doing now, how much we'd have to overhead to police them, so to speak. And I know that tennis is very, very popular in this community, and a lot of people who are very into tennis feel very disenfranchised. Great, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Stewie, what do you want to say?
I'll wait till we get to the vote.
Cindy, yeah, just a couple of things. I think Jim's point is a very good one. It's about the complaints that we've heard is resident access to courts. Now, as I read this contract, and I think it's true for some of the other two contracts, is it not true that 50% of the attendants must be Celebration residents? Is that not true? And if it is true in the contract, how is that enforced? And then the parallel question, again, to Jim's point, is this particular contract generates $1,550 per month. Is that a correct amount? So that's roughly whatever the math is, $14,000–15,000 a year. Does that cover wear and tear for the use of facilities that includes profit for the vendor? And then the larger question is, do we want to maintain a partner program or just have the courts open with whatever protocols are in place for doing free play and then no partner program? Does that kind of go a few directions beyond where you, or parallel to what you're thinking, Jim, or no?
Yeah, I can't quite see a middle ground, a compromise on this that would work, except, I mean, we could say we want to delay the awarding of it for 6 months. I mean, I don't want to put this particular vendor in a financial burden situation. But I would like to at least have a trial period in which.
Well, you can We can approve, and if there's violations and substantiated complaints, then the contract can be canceled.
Yeah, but the substantiated complaints need to come from,
Staff.
much more monitoring than we're doing now.
That's correct. That's correct.
Just following up, I'm thinking, I think 6 months would be too long. I think maybe 3 months would be a better test period. This time of year, people can play all day, every day if they wanted to, just about. Kind of see what the usage is. If we decide for whatever reason not to renew this contract, we could always put his name out there as someone who, if you would like lessons or private lessons, contact him rather than, you know what I'm saying?
So like the beginning of January is when we would have awarded this. We'll put a pause on that, and like January 1st to
So then
April 1st.
you're ending its contract effectively December 31 of this year, and he is off the courts.
I want to make sure that contractually that's all we're obligated to.
Contractually, you are only obligated until 12/31/2022.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to be not considerate of possible financial implications that might be for the antennas, but that type of a plan, I'm willing to compromise different suggestions, but I do think they haven't had a good track record both in staying within the scope that was put in the contract, and also probably more important, paying their fair share, which to me, now that I hear the numbers, I don't know that that's even a fair share.
How about this? How about if we limit his usage to only Celebration residents for the next 3 months or something?
That means you would have to have somebody sit there and monitor everything.
Yeah, since we can't trust
on that court.
The trust is the issue here in my mind. You feel the same thing? Yeah.
It's a puzzle.
Ronnie, this is a tough decision.
Well, to me, the decision goes to, and what I feel my fiduciary responsibility is to the residents of Celebration. We are for the homeowners. We're not for private business. I mean, I support private business, but the priority for me is our residents. So whether it's 100% residents or whether we don't have a partner program, but how do residents have access to courts? Now, if you have 5 courts, and so there may need to be a sign up and a reservation process, but residents should have access to our courts. And if this group has a history of violation, then why continue with this group?
Well,
We have to make a motion.
Yeah.
So the only thing I would say is, as somebody who's attended the rec committee meetings, you have a passionate group of people on both sides of this. So even if you cancel his contract, I would encourage you to engage the rec committee to get their feedback, or potentially extend his contract for 3 months and engage with the rec committee before you decide to fully terminate his business.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
And then during that time,
Things
try to think out of the box and way we could put stopgaps in, so this.
could we get the expenditures of an increased policing / monitoring of whether they're in the scope? Can we put that in that 3 months as well?
because since it came out that they were going to be awarded this, there's still complaints about overusage, being thrown off courts because I was there playing and they wouldn't get off the courts. It's just back and forth.
And people,
And it's,
yeah, the people that I've heard from are very clear on what the contract says and where they should be. So it's not like they're ignorance that show up and just say, we deserve to play. They're saying, within the bounds of this contract, they're not keeping to it. Because of that, we cannot play.
And gentlemen, and I've had multiple conversations with, I believe, the people that you're talking about, because I've had those contractual discussions with those people and with people that are adamant that they love Advantage tenants and they are number of celebrated residents. So all I would say is before you terminate a contract with a long-standing vendor, I would suggest that you at least extend it 3 months and have an in-depth discussion or workshop with the rec committee to talk about why they made this recommendation.
Can we adjust that to 2 months so that we decide this in February?
At the end,
Before a new board is seated in March.
Seated?
yes.
Yes.
So that means you would have to meet with them in January and make a determination, so I can provide 30 days notice for termination.
I think,
Sounds
I
like
think the,
I would suggest 3 months just because that gives you enough timeline and enough. Yeah, we don't, this is a big deal. We don't want to rush through it. And we want to take everything into consideration. If he needs to find another place to conduct his business, then I think 3 months is a fair window to go through that process while you're having these discussions.
so we're gonna extend the present contract for 3 months.
Correct.
That would
We're
be to
not-
the end of March.
Yes, to the end of March.
To the end of March, yeah, we're gonna change the motion.
Yeah.
So I'd like to change the motion to extending the current contract.
Well, David made the motion.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Did I make them? Oh, I made the motion for discussion. Yeah, I'll amend that.
And Bill seconded it.
And so we're gonna, Bill, are you okay with that? If we're going to, you change the motion to extend the contract 3 months to the
Yes.
end of March. And during that time, we will meet with the Parks and Recreation Committee or task them with coming up with some kind of a process that we can truly monitor what's going on there and address any issues sooner rather than later. We shouldn't, rather than waiting for residents to complain, we should be able to stop the bad behavior right then and there. I don't know if we're gonna do that, but
Because they
I'll
clearly,
confirm it to very
right,
least.
because they clearly said at a rec that they've outgrown the tennis courts. And they have that
We understand.
advantage tennis at one of the rec meetings, that they're so big that they've outgrown our tennis courts because of the volume of customers they have. So they may have a tight set on else.
So a couple of thoughts on this. By extending it only 3 months, the message should be very, very, very clear to this vendor that this is serious and they've got to abide by whatever standards are set. Second is I go back to the study that the CROA commissioned 3 or 4 years ago, and one of the conclusions from Lowe's Design, and one of the conclusions out of that was we as CROA don't have to provide everything for everybody. So the point is, if Advantage Tennis has outgrown our facility, then they can find other facilities nearby where they can offer all the sorts of courts, all sorts of courses and services. And we have our courts for our residents on some sort of, whether it's show up or reservation basis, whatever process we have. So we don't have to accommodate everybody because we don't have all the facilities to do everything. So, so how do we have a balance? 3 months, we can figure that out and just try to resolve it so it's a win-win.
We'll call the vote. All in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Extending for 3 months with specifications. Okay, number 7. Approve the 2020 contract for Celebration Soccer Club as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Committee. Make a motion for discussion. Buddy? And again,
I'll make a motion for discussion. I'll make a motion for discussion.
okay,
I'll second the motion for discussion.
Jim. Okay, let's discuss.
I seem to think that I'm going to abstain from this vote because this, I don't have a problem with Celebration Soccer Club, but I do have a problem with the Celebration Soccer nonprofit for the past 15 years in this community is not going to be able to provide fields for the children that live in this community. Like, so I'm gonna just say that I think the process was broken, and that's it.
I agree with.
And Ms. Moore has been trying to get into the meeting, and he's having a hard time getting in.
For those who don't know, this is talking about a gentleman who is involved with the Celebration Youth Soccer Program that did not get the award.
Yeah. Something under on this. I hope that we can at least come up with some sort of compromise that them out. I'm not sure what that would be, but that's what I would move to do. If some commitment of that would be in the motion, I would vote for the motion. If it's not, I'm actually not even abstaining.
David?
Yeah, it's my understanding that there's been, there's been a formal process, but there were also some informal promises made about people who are not on the board. And so I know that this is contrary to my motion, which I will vote against supporting my own motion, which was for discussion. But I think a substitute motion would be to table this so that we can get more information, because again, some of those informal promises I think are inappropriate, and we are not operating in an informal way. We're operating in a professional, formal way. And just hearing of those in the last couple of days gives me pause for moving forward on this tonight. So my substitute motion would be to table this and get more information and get it to a resolve.
Let me say, 'cause I'm sure people are sitting there thinking to themselves, what? This is nothing against the soccer group that we're talking about the contract.
Not at all,
It
not at all,
nothing-
not at all, not at all.
It has to do with other broader issues. What's your take?
Well, I take is children that are already in the youth soccer, I just want to be comfortable that they have a place to go, that they have a program, and they don't get left out by having one vendor instead of two. We're gonna make that whole.
So it's a similar thing that we would delay, potentially, delay the approval of the contract and keep things as is for 3 months.
1 month, 1 month, 1 month.
1 month.
Wait,
Well, so here's the problem, both organizations have already started advertising for a spring program. The organization in front of you today has expanded their existing programs. Previously, one group did youth programming, one did and correct me if I'm wrong, a travel team youth, and then mostly adult programming.
Soccer.
Yeah, a soccer school, so a more advanced than just the rec league that is the group that did not get awarded or potentially awarded the contract. So now you have both groups advertising for rec leagues. The group that is planning on getting the contract as a is preparing to ramp up staffing and hiring people and planning to this rec league. Yeah,
no, totally get that.
Make a decision by the end of January, or
Okay.
we're
So-
going to cripple both programs and not think what's gone and did.
So I just don't want to make sure, I just want to make sure we don't table it and don't have like a plan of action the next month try to come to a compromise on some
I don't
other
know.
possibilities.
I don't have a problem approving this contract. But I have a problem with the other group that have 15 years. So we figure out compromise or something else while we're approving this.
Approve the contract and try to find space in this group. Or,
The youth soccer, the nonprofit.
Yes.
Well, but that would also entail probably renegotiating this contract that we're going to approve.
yes, because this contract essentially gives a right of refusal for those three.
Oh, do we have other fields?
Essentially,
Not this, the other.
not
The youth,
Not-
not to change.
not the quality soccer fields that you have at the CCXP, but you could potentially do some here at Heritage, some at East Lawn, possibly. Certainly not, we could try to work with the KFA to see if we could use those fields. Not the one spot that was kind of the ideal for this, especially on Saturday. That's their one, they were there at home program. And more spread out, so families with little children and different age groups couldn't. It's, there are options,
Makes a little-
it's not it.
So what if we say the motion is to approve? Well, I'd say the motion is to table it from,
Yeah, actually, the motion on the table, on the floor right now is to approve.
yeah, so I
So
think
We have
we
to
table
vote that.
we've talked about some strategies to try to make sure that the kids celebration are part of the nonprofit soccer.
When does
it start?
What, I was just gonna say, take the store.
March?
But you already have done programs for both the youth soccer and programs.
But how much time do we give ourselves to figure this out?
One, yeah, I think it'd be good to punt this to the next board, but since, yeah.
Jim, you broke up. What was that? You want to wait till the next board?
Then I don't think we should punt this to the next board, however.
No. I
Four of us will be on the next board, so.
Yeah, and we can't. I mean, that's not fair to.
No, that's not fair. We need to resolve this. We need to resolve this either tonight or in January.
Yeah, I think we do that. The only thing, I'll just warn you ahead of time. The only thing is if I don't feel we made enough progress or there, still that, then I probably wouldn't still vote for January for push to though.
But it's nothing against the Celebration Soccer Club.
No.
Contract.
No.
It's nothing against their program. Their contract, they did the RFP, they won the RFP. I'm just trying to find out with Celebration Youth Soccer, what's the best option. Sort of
Well-
stays in place for 15 years. What to do with those children.
Yeah.
What if we
Well,
tentatively approve this contract with the stipulation that with sometime between now and our meeting in January, we can get a workshop together with the board and the rec committee and the principals involved in the soccer things and just try to hammer this out all at once. Because if we don't do it all together, we're never gonna get this done. Because this group's gonna recommend one thing, this group's gonna recommend somebody else, this guy's not gonna wanna do it, and we're just gonna keep going around in circles.
And I like the idea of a workshop. We're having the board meeting late in January, so potentially.
So, Lauren, can you clarify this? Did not the RFP say we want all ages?
Yes,
was not this the only bidder that said we will do all ages?
Correct.
Okay. And so also, if you go back in time 5 years, when we had lots of soccer, we had no CCFC. We had no artificial turf or 2 grand other fields. We had a lot of community fields. Those still exist. They have not been torn up. And so there are plenty, I think you may have said this earlier, Lauren, there are plenty of options available for whomever does not get the bid.
And let me say this, we have this workshop, as I suggested, with CROA, the Parks and Recreation Committee, the management team that's involved in this group and the other group. And if we can't together come to an agreement, then this contract stands and we move on. Stands as is, no adjustment, no nothing, and we move on.
I'm going to suggest that we call the question on the motion that is on the table, and that we not delay any further, and that we not spend management's time, and that we respect the Recreation Committee having done their job that we asked them to do. So I'd ask that we call the question.
So we're not putting any, are we creating?
The motion on the table is on to approve.
Yeah, are we going to, before?
So he's calling the question on approve it.
Approving the,
As it stands and forget.
anything else, everything else. Yeah,
Correct?
that's
David?
correct. That is correct.
With no,
No
As
concessions,
stands.
no
As
workshop,
stands, as stands.
okay.
Motion as stands.
Just one clarification. All children that are in the youth program now would have to be folded into this program, and the contract reads that way, that they're gonna have all celebration youth soccer programs under this vendor. But that's, I guess, is the conclusion then, is that there's only one program. It's gonna have to be through here.
So there's only one program that's going to use the CCFC. That does not mean that Celebration Youth Soccer could not use an alternate.
Whatever we have here. Yeah, I don't.
But since he called the question, that is not part of the motion, it's just something we're discussing. That's my question.
Well, because we discussed it, he doesn't want to amend his original motion. He wants us to call the vote, so the vote.
If the motion passes, then it passes. If it doesn't, someone can make a different motion.
Yeah,
Okay,
so David is making a motion. Well, again, he's holding his motion that we approve the contract with Celebration Soccer Club for exclusive use of the field over at the field complex for the next year.
and.
Do I have a second?
I mean,
You're-
we have to approve that.
Well, that was Jim, so are you still okay with that, Jim? Because that was for discussion, now we've discussed.
Well, no, I'd like to withdraw my second. on that.
Okay.
Don't want to second it and vote no on this, so.
Okay, so it's David, do we have a second to approve soccer contract?
So I have the motion. It needs a second.
Yeah, so Bill seconded it to approve it as it stands, period, done, end.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
I'm in favor. I'm a yes.
Yes,
And
I'm voting no.
we've got, the tiebreaker.
Well, not if she's abstaining or not, right? Oh, yeah,
Okay, she's a no, that's a no.
you're a time maker.
A tiebreaker,
Or does that count as a no
what?
in the vote, Lauren? Is that,
Who? Her? Yes.
We need 3 to pass.
Yeah, you need to be for anything to pass.
okay,
Oh, I guess this is why I paid the big bucks.
why you've been crowned.
I am going to amend the motion to what I suggested during the conversation.
So you're voting, you're going to vote.
Okay, so I'm gonna vote no on this.
You vote no and make a new motion.
So my motion is
So
going to,
this, well, This motion
So the
failed.
motion failed, so now, look,
Now,
Yeah.
it's,
So I'm gonna make the motion that I just suggested, that we approve this contract with the soccer club in the next 30 days, or before our next meeting in January, that we have a workshop that includes CROA, the soccer clubs, the Parks and Recreation, all the management people.
and residents.
Hmm?
And residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to come in and iron this out. You know. That's it. Everybody second? My motion. Bill seconded. Any other discussion?
So to be clear, you are voting to approve this motion. Approve this contract with an add-on of a workshop in January.
Yeah.
But the contract is still
To
approved.
try to solve the problem of, the kids, the town,
Yeah, it's not a contingent approval.
yeah, it's
It's
just.
an approval.
And then what I said was, if we can't get all these people together and have them agree on something, then this contract stands to the end of the year and we're done. Because we've done everything I think that we could.
So my devil's advocate question is, why would anyone come to the table if the contract is approved?
Say again?
Why would anyone want to come to the table? Why would the approved vendor want to come to the table? Why would the other soccer group want to come to the table? Why would they want to come to the table?
And they may not, but I don't anticipate that happening.
Okay.
Because they won't have use of the soccer field. Probably. So it's just,
Well, they don't use the soccer field now, right?
yeah, you do.
if this contract is approved as it stands, the Celebration Soccer Club has right of first refusal for all three fields. If workshop in January and you come to a different decision, then you have a 30-day notice to terminate the contract and either renegotiate or you continue to uphold the contract. You're just getting into a lot of, you're getting dangerous, close to negotiated, not in great faith.
It could be an addendum. Yeah, obviously we approve it. Then after the workshop, we give 30 days notice. I think that is.
Well, but, no, not that 30 days notice, that, if we vote on this and we have a contract with them, I guess what we're asking is that they give us the,
Courtesy?
the courtesy to come to the table, even though they made a presentation and they were awarded a contract, just to see if there's anything that we can all decide upon that will make everybody happy,
Or relative.
or relatively happy. I'm not suggesting that they would necessarily have to change their contract.
But we could also do an addendum. So for instance, if it changed from first right of refusal to first right of refusal, except on these dates and times.
We don't make it too complicated either. Well,
Well, it's Disney Pass. Those are complicated.
I think your money. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That's a soccer.
Your name and address.
Unless I say, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of, let's just say one thing first. After first right of refusal in the contract, it's not appropriate. I don't think anybody should be given first right of refusal to our assets. We should maintain total control of those. Theoretically, if you want to do a special event at the fields and it was an open date, he could say, no, I want that date. You couldn't do the event. So you should not have a first right of refusal in the contract. You could have a first right of refusal as it relates to soccer activities.
That was my,
Okay, so then you could do that, but as that field opens up and we change the access there, there's gonna be other people, intramural clubs and other people that go there. And let's assume there's an intramural club that's part of Celebration residents. And then they get blocked out by that individual all the time. They'll have no control, no access. So I think you better think that through, even if it is just for soccer. It needs to be just for soccer. The other comment, look, it's complex. I understand 15 years and the history and everything else. I think you need to go back to the rec committee. And I think you should not get involved. You should direct the rec committee to come back with a potential recommendation that accommodates both parties' uses of the field. Now, that's a little different than what you did up front because you said you wanted one vendor to cover the entire range of ages. That's what you got delivered. Now you're uncomfortable with it because of this other situation with the 15-year vendor. So you're backpedaling some. So know that, but I think you're gonna muddy it up if you try to get a whole group of people together. Let the experts or the people that are closest to it and Nikki come back with a recommendation, see if they can figure out a way to accommodate it. That would be my thought.
so what you're suggesting is tabling this contract.
Well, remember, if you're gonna run it, well,
And like Lauren said, they've already started registering people and, their groups have.
yeah, both of you, absolutely, that's true. Your kids are, everybody's in motion, families are in motion, so if you don't accommodate both, you're gonna disappoint somebody. They're gonna say, okay, I need a refund and I'm gonna go over to this other club, because the kids are gonna want to play. So you're gonna create an obstacle or a little bit of a hurdle for kids to get into your district. I think you gotta look at Nikki and say, the rec committee's gotta come back with a recommendation that works for both. But that's coming off of what you wanted in terms of one vendor covering the entire range of ages. Maybe that wasn't a realistic expectation.
We had 2 additional board members at that time who had their thoughts about it, so.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, I do see that, yeah.
yeah, good luck though, but I think getting everybody together, once you approve it, standing, I think you really got to move someone back office first and bring it forward. If there's going to be a recommendation, if you really want to pursue a solution, I think that's going to be a much more productive method to get it done. Otherwise, emotion's going to come in and everything else.
Well, you know what, and hindsight's 20/20, but maybe we shouldn't have told the vendor that they were awarded the contract until the board voted on it.
They virtually were the successful vendor.
Well, but I mean. I don't know.
But to Cindy's point, right, the committees do not officially approve this. They make recommendations to
Right.
the board.
They did the process, which was different this year because like Cindy and I, this is the new process this year, right? Nikki?
The RFPs.
The RFPs this year. Well,
For the soccer situation.
I'm talking about for existing, so this was like Jim said, there were 2 other board members that were on the board when this whole thing went through, and they're not on the board now, so we're trying to get it right.
So to that point, and to the prior discussion and to Cindy's motion, what if the motion were amended to just have a workshop just with the board and the rec committee to rethink this? None of the vendors, management, rec committee and board, and be very clear, because this RFP thing is new for us, to think through what is it we're trying to accomplish? How do we maintain what's good for kids? How do we enhance what we're trying to do with adults and other groups as the RP was trying to do? How do we do that? Is it one vendor? Is it 2? And so maybe we just go back to the drawing board and have to accomplish that by January.
So in the meantime, are we extending?
No action on this item.
Meantime, the group that was not potentially awarded the contract isn't using the field right now because they're not in season. They would start again using the fields in March for a spring season.
Okay,
So it's a moot point.
Celebration Soccer Club is using the fields now, but mostly for adult.
but there's been a couple of things that Mike, and one great one came from Mike about, what we might want to amend the contract, change the contract. So I don't think we're going to approve it tonight based upon that. But the current contract runs out the end of the year, correct?
Can we extend their contract?
We could potentially extend their
We
contract.
did it for Advantage Tenants, we could extend their contract. Cindy?
For what, another 3 months, if we want to do it soon? Well, we can't wait until March, we have to do, if we do take David's suggestion, that your suggestion, David, to have the
Yep.
board and the, rec committee pound it out together, we still, I think, should do it in January.
Get it
because,
resolved in
like I
January.
said,
Get it
they're all
resolved in January.
all taking reservations to play. So.
Mhm.
How's that?
What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Can you know what I said?
yeah, we agree with the two smartest people.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to once again amend the motion to continue the current contract that we have.
You have a resident on the chat, like to,
Oh, okay.
well, he's been trying to get in.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, Pete.
Yeah, Keith Thompson, 1201 Celebration Avenue. I could have waited until after the vote. I think going back to the rec committee and having a workshop makes a lot of sense. You guys have heard me ad infinitum my concerns about having somebody that's part of the organisation that gets awarded the contract on a rec committee and defining the scope. If I was brutally honest, I would say if a commercial organisation is advertising classes, programs, whatever, before they've been officially awarded a contract, I would say that's on them, no one else. And given the total lack of meeting minutes, etc., available on the Celebration website, it has to be because they were actually at the meeting where the rec committee decided it. But I personally believe there's room for both organisations, and I would hope that we come to a conclusion where a 501c3 program that mine and many other residents' children have graduated from, and I use graduate literally after last Friday and my son at FSU, would at least get the ability to use the fields that they were instrumental in supporting and getting the funds to build. Just one last point. I also think it's kind of crazy that for tennis, we talk about residents and residents' money, but yet we talk about soccer and we've diluted the 70% to 50%, and that 50% also includes K-8 students and staff. Well, the K-8's one of soon to be 3 schools in Celebration, and if the county had ponied up the money that they promised initially, I would maybe support that, but they didn't, so I can't. Thanks, that's
Steve.
it.
Appreciate your comments as always. Okay, so make a motion to extend the contract that they currently have, so they can continue registering and stuff like that for 30 days or until our next meeting, right? And between now and then, we schedule a workshop that's open to the public with the Parks and Recreation Committee and the board, management that's involved, and try to solve this problem.
Revisit the whole concept of RFP, single RFP, could be multiple RFPs, but what are we trying to accomplish with all of this?
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
No.
Okay.
I had
Yes, sir.
outside the vote, I had a question on the contract. I can't find language, right of first refusal.
Not specifically in there, it was just a bad turn of phrase.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
because we have the right to reduce any portion of their scope of service.
Okay. Moving on. Uh-oh.
Sorry, that was a 3 minute. That's fine.
Jeez, where's my dog's barking? Okay, so soccer's done. Are we gonna have a lot of discussion on Island Village? Maybe we should zip through the other stuff and then come back to Island Village? Do we have a feel for that?
No,
Or just-
let's tackle it. Let's tackle it.
Okay, but we've got to talk fast. We're running out of time. All right. Number 8, motion to accept the turnover of Island Village Townhome Buildings 5, 17, 18, 20, 21, and 22. Do I have a motion?
Yes, motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second. Go ahead.
Okay, Jim, gotcha.
Jim, second.
Okay, discussion, anyone?
How many units is
Go for it. Like,
He wants to know how many units.
many units?
Oh my gosh. I have to get the addresses.
It's 4 per building.
It's
4 per building.
Okay.
24 units?
6.
24 units.
So a couple of questions, Lauren. Early on, we approved what, 3 buildings, and then last time so how many have we approved? And then this is another 6.
You've approved 3 buildings of 4 doors each, and then this is another
6.
6, yeah, so a total of 9.
And so all of these have been through the same level of inspection that you had with those first buildings that initially we looked at December, so 12 months ago, and finally got them approved 1 or 2 months ago. So it's the same level of inspection?
Yes.
Yes.
And we,
Okay.
the turnover requests until they were.
Yes, and we have other buildings that they've proposed turning over that we've rejected and a couple of, so it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure.
Sort of back and forth on.
Yeah, that people know that this wasn't their first attempt wanting us to accept it. And
So
then
you're
gone
good
through
with
that
this?
iterative process.
Process for
Yeah.
like the last, I would say, 6 months between these buildings of us going back and forth.
Right. So there's been multiple requests and multiple refusals.
Engineers inspect.
Yep.
Engineers inspect them.
Yeah, I
Brian,
just-
inspected them. Natalie and I haven't been out there. We've
Yeah.
had a landscaping expert out there. We've walked the buildings with PCP.
I just want, I'm going to say to this board that they're as important as all the other villages that have been here. And that we will continue to maintain that level of inspection and supervision before we accept it.
Anybody else?
If you're maintaining that same level of intensity with monitoring and then rejecting, because we then are responsible for that. And if the builder hasn't done something right, the builder needs to do it right before we take control of those exteriors, building and landscaping. So thank you for your diligence on this.
It's to their benefit as well. So, there's no more comments? Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. That's pretty painless. Okay, number 9, motion for the condominium council general resolution. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
You would. I'll second it. Discussion? Do you want to explain it?
So Cindy and I met with Rick Nelson, since I'm the board liaison for the condo council. And Rick Nelson, back in 2018, was one of the creators of the condo council. And we sat with him and went through the resolution because we don't have any resolutions for 2022 in our board binder.
And what they
for
had,
any
you really
committee.
did.
Right, for any committee, and what they had was them following the process of a committee task force and not, as Cindy puts it, social. So it's the 11 condo associations, their board members the president or whoever they want to put in charge of going to the council meeting. We have a liaison from management, and we went through it and I sent it out to all the condo, presidents, and they came back saying that it was what they felt that we should have moving forward, because we've been at a standstill with our condo council meetings, and they're getting a little frustrated, but they understand that we have to go and follow the process. So we came up with the new resolution, and hopefully it will get signed, and hopefully we can pass it forward in 2023.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
So I have three things. One is, I think this idea of a condo council, when it was first floated, is a great one. I think that this resolution is a great one. It's about communication. It's about empowerment. It's about understanding. A lot of it's going to be training. And I think that's great. So, but two specific questions under item C. So first one is a question. It's about membership. So when you look at item B2, you're talking about board of directors for condos and their managing agents. When you talk about composition of the condo council, it's only board of director members. Is that intentional? So does that mean a contractor, a managing agent cannot be a member of the condo council?
And that's ideally at least one member selected from each individual condominium associations. It's from their board of directors, like.
Right. So they're, but if you go up 3 lines, item 2 up above, it says communications network for condominium associations, board of directors, and or their managing agents. So does that mean a managing agent cannot be a part of the condo council?
Their managing agents, did we discuss that with her? With their managing agents could be someone other than someone on their board.
Right, no, I understand. But the composition of the council is only the volunteer board members, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's intentional, because you're referencing managing agents elsewhere.
So wait, they all say kind of, tell me what you're looking at again?
Looking at this. This two? Yeah, develop the communication for condominium associations, board of directors, and or their managing agents.
Okay.
Right.
Managing agents, meaning if they're not on a board, the board member will put someone that's in their condos, like Cindy owns a condo in Marisol. If none of them could participate in the condo council, Cindy would.
Managing agent is a hired company. That's Grand Manners, that's CCMC. So I just want to be clear what we're approving. This is for the volunteer board members, or can the hired paid contractor also be part of the composition of the condo council?
Like somebody from the
management company.
The management company.
Yeah.
Yeah, can they or can they not? Because it says members on item 1, a composition C1 says only the members of the board of directors. Is that what's intended?
Are you saying B1 or C1? Okay, ideally.
C1. I'm just we want to approve. We want to approve what we intend. What do you intend?
Yeah, it says ideally. So,
but if you want to say managing agent, just put it in there.
So that's a totally different thing, David, what you're looking at. For B2, you're saying develop a communications network for communication associations, board of directors, and or their managing agents to exchange ideas to enhance the level of service. That's the managing agent for each condo association. My condo association is Century. Grand Manners is Marisol. So it's the that's completely different than the composition of the council.
Okay, then this is what you intend. That's fine. Then the other is for the chair, as we do with all other chairs, they can be recommended by the condo council, but not appointed. So they're recommended by the condo council and approved by the CROA board.
Well, that's what we're taking the CROA board out of that loop,
Right,
because we have,
because they're not a committee or a task.
exactly. They're more like the celebrators. You know, we don't get involved in what the celebrators are doing. We don't approve who their officers are. It's not a committee and it's not a task force.
Well, if they're not part of CROA, why do we need to have a resolution approved?
To differentiate them from the committees.
Yeah, it's
Right.
to separate the,
Yeah.
the guidelines that committees and task forces set.
To speak to how it's different, and so when people talk to us about it, we'll say, well,
Right.
And provide the liaison, because that's an important piece to this group.
Right. Because half of them are condo.
But we don't control this group.
Right.
CROA doesn't control this group. They just contribute to this group.
Because we're still part of CROA as homeowners. Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Number 10, motion to approve the Yellowstone settlement offer in the amount of $95,000.
So moved.
Okay. Jim and Celia, would you like to say something, Juan? Or
No, just that this was negotiated, by local council and it is recommended by local.
okay. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Next on the action items, fee waiver requests. That was passed out earlier before the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Celia. Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Discussion items, management update. Who would like to?
I'll kick it off with, staffing. We finally have a new standards manager, we should our last meeting. But she's been hitting the ground running, so we will be able to do full inspections beginning January. The majority of them will be done, the printing, the mailing will all be done in-house, so we don't have the same issues that we had previously. All the inspectors have been getting trained on the same verbiage usage. So hopefully we'll have a smoother process moving forward. Also, the letter language was adjusted with your help and the committee's help. So that'll be uploaded to CRNet.
We have all the inspectors.
We do have 3 inspectors.
Could you update the work chart you sent around?
Yes, I actually just completed that for staff, but I'll send that to everybody else. Right now, we have vacant part-time parking pool monitors, and we still have the vacant finance manager. But as I emailed you all, we have a recommendation to do a offer the position to somebody who would be off-site. She's with corporate now. She's been helping us in handling our finances for the last month and a half, 2 months almost. She's been highly responsive, very helpful, and she's found a lot of things to help clean up the celebration books all around. So I think she would be a great asset to the community. I know initial RFP was discussions were for specifically an on-site finance manager. But in this day and age, that's just kind of one of those things that off-site work is more commonplace for the finance individuals. She is willing to come in for big meetings as necessary, so she could physically be present as needed. But I think she'd be a great fit.
Where's she located?
She's located in northern Florida, right on the border of Georgia.
We also have a full-time institution.
Full-time maintenance position is still open.
So if we'd agree to that, do we need to amend the contract? Do we have this contract?
No.
All righty. Anything else?
Just a lot of project updates, you all have to have a ton of meetings, I'm gonna give you some more on the table, between last month and this month. Board meeting, I would say approximately probably 50 some odd projects have been completed.
And can I just say to anyone out there thinks that Rand Manors isn't doing anything, you should see this list. I mean, a lot of the things are very subtle. If you look at the agenda today, look how many passive parks where the bricks and things have been, not flat anymore, where people could trip over them. Believe me, they are doing a lot in the community.
Are we sending this out as a mailing or is there a landing page?
We've started a new maintenance projects page,
Okay.
where this information will be going, and we've actually just, started a, project management through Monday.com, that all of these projects will be uploaded into in the future, so we can have a dashboard on the website where residents will see where projects are.
Excellent, thank you very much.
You see the large container that's out front here, and there's also in Long Meadow, that is for our playground equipment, that should be arriving in the next week or two. We're just waiting for the permits from the county to actually start the work, and then there will be the new playgrounds to start. So yay. Pool furniture, unfortunately, the manufacturer was located in Fort Myers, where Hurricane Ian, destroyed the area. So they were put on a delay, but they should be here the first week of January, if not the second week of January. They were working diligently to get those to us. They did sincerely apologize. I said, I'm just glad you all are safe. Their warehouse was water. So yeah, long list of future projects. I'll be starting the list of the 2023 reserve items, and getting those scheduled accordingly and dividing them up between the years. So we have a lot going on.
I have a question. The doggy pots. Who's responsible for them?
Will depend where they're located.
So actually, they're not. From when you go into Island Village, all the way down to Island Village, there is not one. Is there any way we can place one?
Yeah, we can
Because
ask
a lot of people are like, I walk down there and there's an awful lot of dog poop on the sidewalk because there's no place for the residents to put
It
their.
depends on where they're located. Like, for example, the ones that are on the main boulevard, where like Spring Lake is, that's on the public road areas, and that's CCDD that.
So we have to ask them.
Correct. If they are in a CROA owned park or anything, it's us.
So I'm talking about the whole sidewalk going down Island Village.
Not, that's CCDD.
Okay.
But I can definitely bring it up with Russ and each of
Tuesday night.
Yes.
The other big project that we have going on is the maintenance work at Town Hall for the water remediation. They've set up containment and
Wasn't me.
So town hall will be closed on Friday for part of the maintenance work being done there. Staff will be answering emails and phone calls, but you cannot come physically into the building.
Or anywhere to see anybody. Right?
Correct.
Because you're gonna be all over the place.
We're gonna be doing other.
So,
Can you put a note on town hall?
I'll put a note.
Thank you, on the front door and the back door, so people that don't know this is happening will know if they go up, try to get in.
The A-frames, we're planning on putting A-frames, right at the entrance of both doors, the side and front door.
Thank you.
So Linda and Nikki, you could just get those new. I think I already talked about it with you guys.
So just one more time, Friday, if you need to talk to anybody at town hall, you'll have to do it either by email or by telephone. Because,
Notice will go out tomorrow.
yeah, I know this will go out tomorrow, but just to be clear, until they can scatter and light wherever they can. Okay, last thing on discussion items is windows for Artisan Park condos. Who's that? Can we put that on? Well,
So Artisan Park condos, so some of there's been some back and forth with the Artisan Park condos owners and CROA Art about approving new window installation. Art does not want to approve some of the new windows that have been installed because they're not within the design guidelines and they have.
past tense. You said, so
They
they've
have
installed.
yes, that have been installed. Previously, there was, I'm not sure what the backstory is, but ARC has received a couple of other applications and said, we're not handling these and kicking these.
Why is that?
Wait, I'm confused. So they've already, they being the Artisan Park condos, have already replaced some windows.
Right.
Without ARC approval?
No, they got our,
Yeah.
Okay.
But they,
But now they don't want to do it, they don't want to approve them anymore?
yes, they're not, because they're not part of the design guidelines.
Well, then if they got the first approvals, why are they throwing it in our lap? They're not continuing to approve
Because they made an exception.
I just wanted to bring this to your attention. We'll continue to have more discussions, but this is something that's been kind of relevant.
We've had fun with that. Okay. So.
May I ask a question about that?
That's the lady.
Sure.
Thank you. This is Lane Entry from C102 or 214 in the Artisan Park. And there was an announcement made that the approvals had been established and there was a process. And so we followed the process. We're using the vendor who had done the prior windows. And so we're just waiting to hear if those approvals can be obtained. So I don't know if the discussions are going to take further weeks or months, or what kind of timing should we plan on there?
I'm not understanding.
Yeah, Bill, can you shed some light on it? Mr. ARC?
I was at the meeting on Monday that these windows did not come up. I don't recall hearing any of this, but some of these things have been lingering for months and months. And
So there's windows,
yeah,
so there's windows that were replaced down in Artisan
And we're approved.
and were approved by ARC. And now ARC don't want to approve it to the residents moving forward that need to get their windows replaced. It's like you replacing your windows in your house and you can't replace them, but yet your neighbor replaced her windows.
Is this like a?
And it's the same window and the same vendor,
Yeah.
which is why we chose that vendor.
Sort
Yeah.
of a thing.
Yeah.
But not exactly, but you know what I'm saying?
It's thousands
Where
of
ARC,
dollars.
yeah, but I know, but where ARC proves a strategy for it. But
There is a lot,
we can have some sort of streamlined way for residents to put in the requests and we make sure.
there is a lot of, what word can I use?
Something.
is this the green tint windows? Is this the ones
Yes, the turtle glass.
It's in the-
I only know a little bit about it. My neighbor was talking about it. He said that the green tint went to put it by a couple of people. Apparently it came to CROA a couple of years ago. It was approved by CROA.
No, it wasn't approved. It was approved by ARC.
It was discussed in CROA and Jackson Lumley was involved.
Thank you.
Discussion.
You said that. Okay, thank you. So it was approved. And it's not fair to these people now that want to get their windows replaced that can't because ARC won't approve it.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, and that's probably a question for you.
I'll have to research.
Whether it can be another process for this, that says, you know, here are the guidelines, we'll have management potentially monitor this if there's a minimal amount of work to do the approval, because everything's in place.
Are the condo associations, is their association down there have a problem with the windows being replaced?
Not to my knowledge.
No,
Because-
in fact, there is a process. And part of the process was we had to fill out a form that was approved by the condo association. And we were provided the form for ARC that we were told was the pre-approved form to use. And we filled that out and submitted it as well. So there is a documented process to follow.
I will have to research it and find out, because this is the first I'm being aware of it.
Is there a time, an urgency to this other than that?
There is semi an urgency because we have some open applications, this resident in particular, in terms of the
And
approval.
part of,
And ordering the windows takes time, getting in the queue,
Well-
and then you could have some financial impact in terms of having to wait.
And when does ARC meet again, Bill?
I believe it's,
They just had a meeting this past.
yeah, no, it's Monday, so. roughly the
And
same
what
time
did
next
discuss? Was it discussed at all, the ARs with the windows and all?
week. Not ours, lots of discussion on ours.
January
And-
16th?
one note about the financial consideration, we had to have a signed contract with the window vendor before we could even submit the forms. So we had to pay a 50% deposit to purchase the windows before we could submit the form to ARC. That was part of the required form. So we have already paid those funds.
From, I just asked, who's been here, I just asked Lauren how she found out about this. She got an email from the committee saying they were kicking this back to us.
If that's the case, then I'm sorry, but these people need to have their windows replaced.
No, I still think we need to approve the recommendation of wanting to kick it back to us, just to be clear what committee's decision, they can't make a decision that we need to handle it as a committee until we talk with them and change, you know, what some of their goals are and what their scope is.
So was that an official request that this become, or no?
No, it came through the liaison to the committee to me, saying
Was it
they don't want to handle these because they are against the design guidelines and they don't want to be the ones approving them.
But was that a request or
He's the liaison.
something else?
The manager liaison.
Oh, the management liaison. So was that a request or was it something other than a request?
It sounded a little stronger than a request.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, who's the management liaison?
Percy.
Oh, okay. Too many roses, too many nameless.
I think the people that had their windows replaced went through, and I'll be very honest with you, hell of that, trying to get their windows replaced. And they finally got them approved, and now we're telling residents that need to have their windows replaced, that all of a sudden ARC doesn't want to approve them because they don't follow the guidelines, but
Isn't it just an issue with the tint?
it's the only windows they make now. I think it's a state regulation. I'm not sure. I think it might be a state regulation.
The bluish tone undertone to them, is that what you're talking about?
If you look at them a certain
It
way,
has a bluish tint to it, yeah, that's one of the new,
but you can't, if you're looking at it, it don't look blue.
no, but it, like my house, my brand new house has those type of windows in it as well.
So they're kicking it out to us because they don't want to have anything to do with the ARC.
Correct. Is it something we can vote on?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we allow Artisan Park to continue to replace their windows based on what ARC approved for the first batch.
Who will handle the end process then? Are you thinking?
Not just to handle
They said they're kicking it back to us, so.
If they're in line with the previous guidelines that were approved.
Don't we have to have some sort of, at least online form filled out with someone?
Yeah, they did still submit.
They submitted.
It's submitted to ARC, so ARC would get those, they would round them to management.
So the ARC committee said no, or who said no?
They said they didn't want to be responsible for approving these.
They don't want to be responsible for approving condo homeowners' requests who pay the same dues that everybody.
But that's not what they're not saying.
It's
But
been
They're
approved.
saying it's not in the design guidelines, so they don't want to approve them. They're
So last
saying, well, if you want these, if these need to be approved, these need to be approved by the CROA board because they're not in the design guidelines. Because they're supposed to uphold the design guidelines.
Okay, so do the design guidelines need to be amended before they take over approval?
This is the new standard for.
We're making many amendments.
It's a new, there's a guideline that they have to have, that I'm not sure.
So
Yeah.
that's a lot. We have their guidelines reflect.
Right, they're guidelines.
Yes.
It's not like they're written in
Yes.
stone. If it were me looking at it, I would rather have all the windows alike than this group that are blue tint and everything else is
Well,
gray tint or green tint or whatever.
legally, we can't install those, right? Theoretically? Is that what we're?
It's a whole other.
I don't know what the issue is, so I can't respond to
They
that.
should, I think they made an exception, I don't remember what it had to do with sunlight or, there was a reason behind it. You know the reason, what was it?
All the windows are trapped, they're all single pane windows they
Yeah.
install, and they're going to.
That's what, basically, the windows.
Single pane windows that have some use, protection.
So the window that,
That's my understanding.
so the only window that you can get now to fit that's a reasonable cost, is this one that has this
The
like.
UV, it's like a UV, like film to like reflect the UV light for energy conservation, and you can.
Well, I suspect that as they review the guidelines, these kinds of things will be incorporated into the
Correct.
guidelines.
Because we're in.
So I'm okay with making a motion to allow Artisan Park to, do what they have to do to replace their windows.
I'll second.
As long as it's in compliance with the way they've done it before, this is that, it's the same exact thing.
You've recently done before.
Yes.
So, who's on?
So,
Lane.
Who?
Lane.
Lane,
Yes,
so,
that's me.
so are the windows you're getting the same windows that have been used already to be replaced in Artisan?
Yes.
Yes, they are. And in fact, we went with the exact same vendor just to make sure everything was consistent.
Okay. Same vendor, they put 50% down already.
Got it.
So, yeah. Dave, did you want to say something before I call the vote?
yeah, I had a couple things on that. So ARC previously approved these particular windows, this particular vendor, this particular style, this particular tint. So all of that for any future ones would still need to be consistent with those. And so, and they would, so everything would, moving forward, would need to be consistent. ARC, the current composition of ARC apparently doesn't like that prior ARC decision. But we do have that precedent made by ARC, and then for consistency of how those windows look from the outside for, that they all should ultimately look the same. So someone can't go rogue and get a different vendor or different style. I also think that any paperwork should be filed with ARC and ultimately with management so we have up-to-date records. On the issue of tinting in our own home, 2 years ago, our 30 windows were approved with tinting by ARC. So the tinting can't be the issue. I don't know what the issue is, but ours was duly approved and installed, and everything was fine. So I don't know what the issue is.
Follow the same process as before. Make sure.
Yeah, we just need we need consistent process.
I gave a motion, Timothy.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I second it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
You can check it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, anybody?
Opposed.
Okay.
Until I know what the issue is, I don't want to vote for it.
Well, they don't want anything, any part of it.
It's a, doesn't fit the design guidelines.
You can also abstain.
I don't just like it. I just like to know what I'm agreeing to.
All right, understood.
And I think, through Bill's point, we can find out more. And if all of us have been misinformed in these last 10 minutes from whatever source, then we can revote. We can revisit that. But it sounds like it's a basic misunderstanding. I think, yeah, I think we made a good vote moving forward.
Just for everybody's benefit, with ARC, there's a great deal of their work gets done online. And when I'm at the meeting, the only things I'm seeing are the ones that are open for substantially more discussion. Sometimes there's lots of discussion on how to solve an enormous problem and writing recommendations. So, but I don't see everything that they're doing because it's pretty much them checking off on stuff
The
online.
big issue is continuing to, it's not that they're necessarily opposed to the windows, it's continuing to approve things that are not within the design guidelines.
That's right.
It's their responsibility to uphold, and
So we need those brought up.
Yep, we have
nothing
nothing
against
against
the
this.
residents of the windows. Typically, it's more process.
So Lauren, also to Jim's earlier point about something expedited, this could be something that, for artisan, for residents of this particular condo, here's what is approved. And so this can be expedited. It doesn't have to be a long, laborious process, as cited by by Lane, who talked with us.
Having windows changed, Carlisle's going through it, I'm sure Marisol's gonna be going through
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Change their windows and they're responsible for their windows, so we have to.
And I'm pretty sure all new developments are required to now install, I mean, I can look at codes, install those type of windows.
Well, as fun as this has been, we are 10 minutes over our allotted time for meetings. Does anyone on the board have anything that they're just need to share? Anything stuck?
I do,
Okay.
yeah. So I do. I want to agree with what Cindy said at the beginning. That what we did on the 5th was not for show. Some of us were frustrated to be there. Not me, one of them, but other people were. But we all sucked it up, and we both interacted during the activities and exercises. But we also had one-on-ones on breaks, and we spoke through some of the issues that we have a lot of misunderstandings on other people's views in the past. And we worked really hard.
And we worked really hard today too.
Yeah, and I hope it showed tonight, because we had a number of things that we disagreed on. But what we spoke them out, discussed them in front of the community in a very respectful way, and came up to resolutions and compromises for all solid them.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So thank you, Cindy.
Oh, yeah, man, good.
Now, I'm just curious, you've been here all meeting, do you have something you want to?
Well, yeah, briefly, I mean, if you want
I
to.
know what you mean.
Jim Hyman, you know Jim Hyman?
Yeah.
He needed a context from the window, so you can find out how they're, more about it.
Okay.
Well,
Also,
thank you
this
for
thing,
being here.
private thing is parked in front here. I think it's a real safety concern. I'm afraid people are going to slow through this stop sign, either hit a car or hit a person, because it's very difficult to see the stop sign where this thing is placed in front.
Maybe, is there anything they could move it like in the middle? Between the two stop signs, instead of to the corner?
I mean, you can definitely ask, yeah.
Like move it back to the middle so that when you're coming out of Spring Park and you want to make a left, you can't, you're.
You can come down Celebration Avenue, you don't see the stop sign, even though I know where it is, you go through it. You can put a warning or something on the one thing. I'm just concerned somebody's going to get hit or jump and you walk straight.
Maybe if they could just move it back a little.
Back a little, or either put some sort of sign, stop ahead.
Yeah, but you still can't, when you're at stops, still can't see and making a left on celebration.
That sucks.
Or
If they pick it up and move it, it's gonna be,
let's do
and the
it.
equipment, it's gonna be expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is our last board meeting of the year. And kudos to our management team because of that. Lauren, you and your team rock. Really, you really do. Natalie, Nikki, Amy, Bichette, Lynn, really, big, Roger.
And just to
Brian, oh, Brian, yeah.
And just to put the cherry topping on it, and end this love fest for tonight. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Happy New Year. Hope everybody stays happy, healthy, prosperous, and we'll see you next year. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.